future editing me coming in before the intro, before the video. Just a quick disclaimer. There's a reason I don't really do collabs very often. It's not because I don't enjoy them, it's because I'm not the best with technology. And whilst it sounded great last night in the test recording, I've gone to edit it now, and everyone's volumes are all over the place. I'm particularly loud, so is Sage, and Aaron and Adam are quite quiet. Now, I've done my best today to get the bars to look similar in the editing process, but it's not fantastic. I almost don't want to post it, but we've gone through the effort of recording it for everyone, so I'm going to put it out there anyway. But yeah, just want to apologize in advance in that front. So back to yesterday. So it's been all quiet from me on the Eastern Front. That is because the two videos last week, there wasn't really anything that I felt I could add on, although they were still good to watch. Also, partly because we've been leading up to this. Now, this video is slightly different to what I normally do. And that is because I'm joined by some friends. So, the guests in this video, for those who have been in and around the community, they need no introduction, but I will still get them to give you one for those who are new. Doing a little bit of an AMA with the narrative director from Fateless, so potentially it's going to be exciting, a bit of a fun one, and who knows what we're going to find out. So I've got your questions here. We'll put them to them and have a general discussion. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everyone, Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video. And today we are with some friends. Give us a wave, friends. Hi, friends. Yes, we're doing an AMA with our three guests, and I will let them introduce themselves. So go ahead.
Hi, I'm Adam from The Adventures of Adam. It's nice to be here.
I am Aaron Theorive. I just jumped onto this podcast. I have no idea what it's about or what's going on, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm Unbound Sage, content creator on the channel Unbound Sage. So there you go.
Nice. So, yes, as Aaron sort of alluded to, no one knows what we're doing. We are doing an Ask Me Anything with Aaron. It sort of stemmed from some general chatter in the Discord, if I remember rightly. And so, who better to do it than the three of us and the big man himself? So, I've written down all of the questions that all of you submitted, either on my YouTube comments or in the discussion, the lore discussion in the Discord, and I'm sure my two other CCs have questions of their own. So I figured we would ask one of each of ours, and then we'll go into everyone else's. So it would be rude for me not to start with our guests. So, Adam, fire away. Start us
Okay.
off.
This could either be a really juicy question or a totally nothing question, but I guess there's only one way to find out. During the alpha, we had knowledge of only two primal powers, order and chaos. But since then, we learned of another, fate. Or is it destiny? I don't one of the two.
Destiny. Destiny.
Destiny, okay. And she was in charge of fate. Okay. Are there any other primal powers we have yet to learn of? And if so, is there anything you can tell us about them?
Um, I can't quite say whether there is or is not any other primal powers. Um, Certainly, the primal powers that have had an impact on the story and the world are those three. Are there others? Possibly. That could be revealed later. Um, but one thing that is important to note that I think content creators will enjoy knowing is that after the shattering, all of the primal powers, in addition to gods and all that, they were all diminished. All right. So their power has been considerably diminished from when they first appeared and created the multiverse. Right. And then even I'll go even further and give a little bit more of a leak. Is somebody had asked earlier on one of the questions on the Discord was, you know, when Destiny created the Scions, right? Had she created something before? or are they the first thing, or et cetera, et cetera. And so I can say that because of the diminishment of the primal powers and the way the ether was disrupted and had to be held back together, a lot of Destiny's power is going to keeping the multiverse together. And so when the scions were created, and this is why this is important and why the scions are so important, rather than drawing from the ether that was everywhere in the cosmos and was springing from the ether well, which was destroyed and put back together in the form of the Godforge, rather than do that, Destiny is actually taking parts of herself, her own ether, and creating the scions. They are truly the children of Destiny. And every time she does that, she diminishes a little bit more.
If I've learned anything about Destiny's children, they don't want no scrubs. So we got to bring our A game.
Yes. Yes. So there you go. So are there others? Possibly. Uh, when they will be revealed, who knows? But it is important to note that just like the gods themselves, the primal powers are also were diminished by the almost near destruction of the multiverse.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Go on in, Sage, ask yours.
Oh man, I have two, and I'm debating which one I want to fire.
We
right?
might have time to come back to it, right? So
Yeah. I guess I'll do the one that I care about more, right? And
Of course.
so the shattering, right, caused basically I imagine it almost like a fan where there are the nine realms, and then the shattering kind of caused them to overlap with each other. So they are distinct and separate, but there are these rifts that happen or whatever, right? But did the shattering have effect on the realms of the individual places? So for example, with Asgard, right, we also have like Helheim and Nimbleheim and all these other places, right? Did the border between like Helheim and the mortal plane also shatter? Right? Basically, I'm saying is like, did the afterlives, the underworlds, did they kind of like break open as well because of the shatter?
Yes, everything in reality broke apart during the shattering. That included, any kind of boundaries that existed between realms, as in the Asgardian realms, as you point out, or between like what traditionally one would think the world of the living and the underworld, or whatever it is, the world of demons and the world of mortals. Everything broke apart and had to be brought back and stitched together again.
Okay.
So yes, it affected all the realms. And actually, here's a good place for me to explain the concept of Riven. So when we say Riven, Riven is the world that has been brought back together, that an individual scion is basically put in charge of. That is where the scion is to go and make sure that balance is restored. However, Riven as a world, don't think of it like a theme park, right? Don't think of it where it all got smashed together and Nizumo's in the top corner and next to it is Asgard and Olympus is over. No, think of them rather as different worlds that are sharing the same space. Okay? They're not in a different dimension, they're not in an alternate reality. They are in the same reality that is known as Riven. They're even in the same space. Imagine if the Azuma world is in the same place as Asgard, as Olympus, as Omeokon. They're all sharing the same space. But they are not perfectly aligned. So that's where these rifts come in. Sometimes they shift in and out of each other's reality. Sometimes a rift will appear and you can walk right through it from Izumo to Omeokon or from Olympus to Asgard. Doesn't happen all the time, but they do exist naturally. And then the gods themselves, the powerful gods, can open rifts and travel from one realm to another. But again, they're not going to another dimension. They're not going to a different reality. They're going to the same reality, but they're all sharing the same space. Imagine 9 worlds fusing in and out of each other's existence, each other's reality. That's what we're calling Riven, that shared world.
So would you liken it to maybe like a radio frequency, right? Where like all the radio waves are in the air, but your radio gets tuned to a certain frequency, right? And then sometimes if you're in the in between frequencies, like you hear like two radio stations at once, right?
Right. I mean,
But
yeah,
that
you could look at it that way. Exactly.
that's
But
how I
because
like kind of a tuning of, it's in the same space, right? All the radio waves are in the air, right? But it's just a tuning to kind of like what you're listening to almost, or
yeah, I mean that could be a way of looking at it. But somebody else had asked, what were the worlds like before the shattering? Like when Azuma existed in its own reality, or when Omeokon existed in its own reality, what did the world look like? The world looked like the world. The world looked like Earth, right? And so that's why when they're sharing the same space, right? The rough geographical locations of the world are roughly in the same space. So the Sea of Japan would be where the Sea of Japan is in Izumo, in Asgard, in Olympus. Mount Olympus would be in the same place roughly in all of the realities. But if you're in Izumo, I always use this example, you can't just walk in across a field and climb a mountain and go, "Oh, look, I can see Olympus from here." It doesn't work that way. They will just continue to see the world of Izumo, no matter even if they walked all around the globe, it's still the world of Izumo. The only way they get to see Olympus or Maokon or any of the other realms is to go through a rift. Now they walk from the fields of Izumo to the fields of Olympus. And they're like, "Oh, wait, how the hell did I get here? How do I get back?" And sometimes that happens. Sometimes people can cross and get lost. There might be stories around that kind of phenomenon. And sometimes people on purpose say, "Yeah, you know what? I don't like this reality. I want to go check out what's happening in Avalon. I want to go see, what the people in Virage are doing." And if they have the ability or power or somehow know of a rift, they can do that. They can travel to that other place and check it out for a while if they want.
I too would go to Avalon for no particular reason.
It's so. I tell you what, it reminds me of. Have any of you guys watched Wheel of Time?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw the first season.
Like
I
those
saw the
those
first season.
those gates that they have that they can go into, and it's like a shortcut, and then they come out somewhere else. That's what it sort of reminds me
Yes.
of. Yeah.
Yes, very much
Or
so. And that way,
Aqua
because
Teen
if you
Hunger
remember,
Force.
we had said at the very beginning that all of the myths in these mythologies were true in their own reality pre-shattering, right? All of the stuff that happened in Japanese mythology happened in their own reality. Post-shattering, now that place still exists, but it's been fused with 9 other realities. And as we said, not all realities have manifested yet. So other realities are going to start to also manifest in the same space as all these other 9. There could be 10, 12, 15, 30. There could be any number of them that eventually all share the same space, and that space is what we call Riven.
Nice. There we go. So then, my question before we'll get onto some community ones, I had two. One of them's got nothing to do with Godforge, but I mentioned it in the Discord, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Your favorite type of balloon?
Balloon?
Yeah,
Uh, you mean like a party balloon?
it could be whatever.
Uh, I like the ones that you can twist into little animal shapes. I like
Animal
those
balloons. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Adam, do you have a favorite type of balloon?
Um, water balloon.
Yeah, nice.
There you go.
And Sage.
well, I like the like the aluminum like helium balloons when they get little like inflate like deflated. You can like make little popping sounds with them, right? Just go like pop 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 pop. I just like that sound, so I guess that's my favorite balloon if I'm pressed to ask, right?
Nice. Mine's a hot air balloon. Anyway,
Nice, nice.
the actual.
Although, if we can do those, I like Zeppelins, so I do like Zeppelins. I guess that could be considered a type of
Yeah,
balloon. Okay.
sure. And then Godforge related question. Um, so we've been told that the initial story, however much there is not the end, right? There will be more to come eventually. Is the I don't know, like the final stage of whatever it is we're doing, is that gonna end on a cliffhanger, which leads into the next piece of story, or is it gonna come to like a complete close, and then whenever the next stuff drops, it's like a whole new story?
I think it will be both. I think it'll be a satisfying conclusion, but oh my God, of course it's going to be a cliffhanger. We have to tell the players there is more coming. After you have done what you are supposed to do, At the end of it, again, we hope it's a satisfying conclusion. All the Scions can go, a good job, well done. Time for a drink. They also will be left with the impression of, and my work is just beginning, right? So yes, there will definitely be an indication that the story will continue.
Nice. There we go. So I think we've got like maybe 12 to 15 community questions here. So I don't know if we'll
I'll
get
try to
through.
get through them real fast.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get through them all. My plan is we're going to be doing a bit of hopping around. Like, I want to ask at least one from each person that submitted if we can, and then maybe we'll wrap back round if there's time, so to speak. So,
Sounds good.
Bradbod Gaming, I've just got at the top here just because he put this in last. Did Destiny create anything before the Scion or alongside the Scions?
Well, before the Scion, yes. Destiny, Order, and Chaos created the entirety of the multiverse. Everything that existed in the multiverse prior to the Shattering was all created from a combination of the forces of Destiny, Order, and Chaos. So yes. Now, did she create after the Shattering? Did she create something before the Scions? Other than pulling reality back together, which is primarily something she did, no. The Scions are her first attempt to say, okay, wow, what a mess. I can't do this on my own. I'm going to need help. And so she decided to create the Scions.
And she don't want no scrubs.
No.
She don't want no scrubs.
This one, no scrubs.
Leading out the
That's the last
passenger,
time I'll do that one, I
leading out the
swear.
passenger side of her best friend's ride, yeah. Trying to holler at you. Anyway. Next we'll come on to Sophalin. I can never pronounce this guy's name. He's such a big supporter and a mod. Sophalin, I think it is. Yeah,
I think it's
Sophalin.
pronounced Sophalin.
Sophalin, there.
I
Yeah.
asked him one time when he was in my live stream. So.
He said, do we see any welcomed new knowledge from another reality or realm? He goes on to say that this question came in mind after considering Poseidon as a god of the sea and then meeting another god of the same role. Could those two meeting lead to some sort of mutual benefit? Like, what else did he say? Learning the same poems. If fish are in one area, they share that knowledge, that kind of thing. Is all knowledge shared across the group? And if yes, are there any benefits of this shown in the game?
Yes, the gods, once they became aware of each other, once they realized that there was not just one god of the sea, but at least 9, yes, some of them started interacting with each other. So some of them started reaching out to each other. As I mentioned in the Discord, there is a mysterious council of shadows that are the underworld gods that have all started reaching out to each other and communicating with each other. To what end, we do not know yet. But this sort of thing is happening. Sometimes they may decide to work together, or they may decide they share a common cause, or they may decide they need to work together to be able to just, survive in this new reality that they find themselves living in. Others, maybe not so much. Others might be jealous of each other's positions or power. They may become rivals. They may become enemies. Do all the war gods get together and decide, hey, we're all bros, let's go start a war together? Or do they say, you're no war god, I'm the war god, right? And they start fighting with each other, as seems to be what seemed to be the want for a war god. So yes, they are very much aware of each other. They have been reaching out to each other. Sometimes those calls get rebuked. Sometimes those calls are welcomed. And then people start interacting, right? Sky gods start interacting, sea gods start interacting, war gods start interacting. That's part of the fun for us, right? How great how great stories can we come up with when all of these figures that never interacted with each other in their mythologies now suddenly start interacting with each other? That just gives us so much material to work with, because the goal is not only to just develop the story of Scion, which is the most important character, but the goal is also to develop the story of all of these 230 plus characters and more coming that now inhabit Riven. What is their story? What is the first meeting between Odin and Zeus like? Did they like each other? Did they not like each other? Did they think the other was arrogant? They're probably both right, but So there's just so much possibility there that of course we are exploring ways to tell those stories as well, so that the player gets an idea of, they're making avatars of these guys, but we want them to know who these guys are. What are they doing? How do they react? What are their personalities like? Some of them might be very much the same from the myths. Some might be completely different. This might have changed their perspective completely, and now they've done a 180 and they're the opposite of what the myths used to describe them as. And that's how we can inject interest and keep things interesting and exciting. Like, oh my gosh, I never thought Ryujin would be this kind of a character, and yet he is, because of the experience of the Shattering.
And touching on something you mentioned, this council of underworld gods, is that strictly a post-shattering thing, or did some of that sort of start to stir pre-shattering?
No, pre-Shattering, they were not aware of each other. They did not know the other existed. Post-Shattering, yes, now they are very aware of each other. And the story, however, the story will reveal exactly what led to the Shattering, what initiated those actions, why those actions were initiated. So that will be explained in the story. But when we got right up to the Shattering, I'll say that's where some of them started to become aware of each other.
Well, that's right, because just a quick aside, we know that the bird is of European culture, right? You've given us that tidbit. And we know Gilgamesh, is Asian, right? He is, he's from Samaria, which would be like,
Yep.
I believe is Asia. So like
Yeah,
they
Sumeria,
can't that bird cannot be from the same realm as Gilgamesh, right?
You
That's
are
just
correct.
and so
You are
like
correct.
and so like that's kind of like the you have me by the hook where you said like, oh yeah, you're gonna know how that happened, because it obviously had to have pre-shattering, because that combination caused the shattering. So yeah, I'm
You are
interested,
correct.
obviously.
You
So
are correct. Yeah.
And
That trailer alone should prove that yes, there was some kind of cooperation. Gods had to have from other realities had to have been known of each other and been working towards some goal.
yeah.
and that leads kind of nicely into a question from Goran. She says, how much of the background of the whole Shattering and Realms, etc., will be told explicitly to us at the beginning, and how much will be sort of relayed to us through the journey left to puzzle out? Like, will it be presented in a complete narrative, some sort of timeline, or will it be something you have to find as you complete the campaign, dungeons, that kind of thing?
It will be divulged as you go through the campaign. We basically we'll have two chapters. We have a chapter 1 and a chapter 2. On early access, we may only get chapter 1. With a full launch, we will get chapter 1 and chapter 2. That is its own complete story. Like I said, there will be a satisfying conclusion, as we hope it's satisfying, but there's going to be the promise of more. So yes, it will eventually be that information will be provided to the player through a variety of cutscenes and VO from characters and things that you might find in the world. But yes, it will slow. No, there's not going to be, because I don't like them, the big long prologue in the beginning before this and that. No. There's going to be nothing like that.
That's
It's
the
going to be
example she
given in
gave.
little bits. Yeah, it's going to be given in little bits and pieces, and the players will be left to, which is one of my favorite things, speculate. You guys know how I feel about this. Speculate, make videos about, argue with each other about, throw your best theories up there. Because if you're not doing that, then I think we failed. If we have not encouraged our content creators to go out and say, we just got the most recent cutscene. Okay, what does this mean? Yeah, analyze it, because nothing's going to be spoon-fed to you.
It's not going to be like Avatar, where it's like the four nations lived in harmony and then the Fire Nation attacked. And
No.
And that's on my mind.
Like that.
No, I play Magic the Gathering and an Avatar set just dropped, so that's why I'm thinking about that.
I just started
By the way,
watching Avatar with my
there's
daughter.
nothing wrong with that. Let me quickly say that there's nothing wrong with that approach. I know they had the prologue in the Lord of the Rings movies, for example. So I don't mind that approach. It's just not one that I personally want to get behind and try to emulate, right? I prefer to give people little bits and pieces and then they piece it together because I think it's more satisfying that way. When you've put it together, or better yet, when you get enough evidence and then you come up with a theory and then 3 cutscenes later you're proven right, that's a great feeling. Like, ha ha, I knew it. It's like a detective, right?
I
You
think it plays
pieced it
well for a
together
video game
and
too.
yeah.
'Cause people, when they play games, they want to be engaged. They don't want to sit there and some people don't want to have to see big story pieces. They just want to get to the next
Yeah.
thing. So if they're short and like, it helps with the pacing of playing through it.
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
exactly. I mean, that to me that it both it's a both. Yeah, exactly. You phrased it perfectly. It both is better for the game because people experience a game in little chunks, and it's also, I think, just more satisfying for somebody to get it, piece it together, and then go, Eureka! I know exactly what's happening. You know.
Nice. Next, we'll move on to one from Mathurian. Were all factions reforged at once, or did some of them trickle in later, in the same way that future factions will trickle in? If drip fed in, is this the cause of things like the War of the Pyramids, where they saw a functioning society and being like, let's go see what's going on over there, kind of thing?
Right. I think it's safe to say that the main ones did all come together at once. Uh, and only the fact that some of them are still manifesting means that all of them haven't aligned yet, but they were all saved after the shattering. They were all saved at the same time. Only some of them are still, if you look at it like planets aligning, right? There's 9 that are aligned, and then others are slowly coming into that alignment as well. So
They
it's
haven't
more that
joined
kind of
like
idea.
Riven yet, right? That's what you're saying. Like they're still
Correct.
out there saved,
They
but they
have
haven't joined
correct.
Riven. Yeah.
They have not come to share that reality with Riven yet, but are being maybe drawn towards it. Yep.
Nice. This is actually moving a little bit quicker than I thought. So, Father Time, who
See,
was
we make it to all of them.
yeah, Father Time was the last person. He submitted quite a few questions, but we'll definitely wrap back round. He said, what was his first one? Uh, something actually touches on something that you yourself mentioned, Aaron. We know that how the gods feel about avatars, but do the avatars feel the same way about gods? So,
Uh, this is my favorite part to speculate about. Is like, what are we going to do? I think, wow, suddenly my screen just came on and I got really bright. Um, I think that part of the fun of the Scion of playing the Scion and seeing these characters develop is how are they going to react not only to other avatars of themselves but to their copy, right? I joked with somebody before that I see a room with nothing but Herculeses, right? And they're all flexing and kissing their biceps and saying, I'm Hercules. No, 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 I'm Hercules. Clearly, you all are wrong. I'm Hercules. And so, some avatars may really dig each other. They may like hanging out with copies of themselves. Others may not like it, right? But for the most part, the actual gods are not too happy with somebody making copies of them. Almost all of them don't have a positive view of that. But then, of course, because there's so many gods and they have so many motivations, some of them might love it. Loki might be overjoyed that there are hundreds of versions of him running around being Loki like. He may think this is a dream come true, you know? So yeah, it depends on the god. I see Zeus as somebody who would be very offended by something like that and would not like that. But yeah, Loki, Loki might think this is great, you know. So will they be interacting with each other? Yes, we hope we are developing ways to tell stories where you will see that. You will see an avatar interacting with the god that they are copied from, and how that goes, right? Um, and I think that's going to be part of the fun. What happens when fake Baba Yaga meets real Baba Yaga? I want to know. I'm curious what happens with that particular combination. But we also, again, getting back to the sort of, I want to make a difference between the sagas. What we are calling the sagas is the story of the Scion. What we are calling tales is the story of the characters in the world. So we are exploring ways to bring narrative that are tales, that are Lancelot running around, interacting with different people, Baba Yaga running around, interacting with different people of the different realms. That they might talk about the Scion, but it doesn't really involve the Scion. These are stories of the inhabitants of Riven, as opposed to the sagas, which will almost always be the story of the Scion and their continuing story to maintain balance.
So these tales, are they going to be like of, let's call it like OG Zeus, not avatars, not copies? It's going to be OG Zeus's
Correct.
tale. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Now it might be, I'm going to throw an example out, not to say that we're doing anything like this, but as an example, it might be Zeus before the court of Olympus, and he might say, bring him in. And they bring in Zeus with his hands tied behind his back, and he's thrown down on his knees in front of all the Olympians, and they're all like, oh, and Zeus might be pointing at that individual, what is this? What is this blasphemy? They caught an avatar, and look, there he is, and he looks just like Zeus. And that kind of, so as an example, yes, it will be the OG gods talking about what the Scion is doing in the world, and may even include avatars that they have created, talking about avatars. But yes, for the most part, it is for the OG characters. And by the way, somebody else pointed out, hey, you could do a role-playing game set in the world of Godforge that almost never touches the gods. It's just the inhabitants, because they exist too. Each of the world, Azuma has farmers and warriors and warlords and priests and musicians, and they wander around a fully populated world. Tian, watch one of those kung fu movies. One of my favorite is the Yin Yang Master on Netflix. Watch one of those movies, and the priest that goes around with the sort of warrior guy, and they go into the city full of monsters. Yeah, all of those people exist in the world, and they interact with the various powers. They usually don't involve themselves in something as big as the Scion story, although they might. But those can be stories. So you could do an RPG where you create any character from any of the 9 realms, but they're just like a D&D character. It's a warrior, it's a poet, it's a bard, it's a thief, it's a sorcerer, it's a warlock, it's a witch. Just characters from the game that you can have a great adventure with. And they might occasionally have contact with the gods, but that would be just like in a D&D game. That'd be a big moment.
So we've gone through everyone at least once, so we will start back at the top. Adam, you want to take it away?
Sure. Not as sexy as the first question, but it's something I'm curious about. It's been confirmed that Kronos is the Pantheon boss. As a Titan, where does he fall on the power scale between God, Scions, and the primal powers?
Somebody like Kronos, the most powerful entities in any of the mythologies, can be above the gods, more powerful than the gods, but all of them are below the primal powers. There is no greater power in our existence than the primal powers.
I mean, maybe if there's ever a new tier of hero brought in, we'll start to see the Titans sort of slot in above.
Yeah, remember what I said. They are diminishing. Every time Destiny creates a Scion and gives of her power to make sure that this balance can be remained, she does diminish.
Nice.
It may be by a very small fraction, but it's happening.
Nice. And then Sage, I know you said you had another one, so we'll get to it.
I have 2 more. The one I want to talk about, right? And a lot of my theories recently have gone off of this, but it is the idea of, you said during your first podcast with Fateless, right, that we start the story of Riven at all the gods' tales have been told, right? So Hercules has done his 12 labors. The brothers from Myocon, they've climbed up from their underworld, right, and tricked the gods in the way that they did. But that leaves gods and heroes in weird situations, right? Like Icarus dies at the end of his story, right? And same like his death is iconic, right? So it's the whole point of the story, right? You don't really talk about Icarus without the death, right? And the same thing with Achilles with his heel. How literal did you mean by that? Like, so is Achilles and Icarus dead when the shattering happened?
Uh, yes and no. All right. So the shattering occurred across time and space. Right. So people
Oh.
were pulled out of their myths at a time where they were either maybe about to die or had experienced some epiphany but hadn't quite concluded their career, kind of a thing. Um, so yeah, every time that you have a character like an Icarus or Grendel, for that matter, right, who was
Yeah,
killed,
yeah,
by
yeah.
Beowulf. Nope, nope. Grendel was pulled from their existence at a time where Grendel was still alive. Now, because of the way he's designed, he had already lost his arm, but maybe again his mother had gotten to him, she'd healed him, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why you can have characters even from different times, because we might have a ruler in Izumo, right, from a certain era of Japan, and then one that is centuries later. So that is why they took the shattering took these heroes from almost like the greatest moments in their existence,
Okay.
right? Same thing with Leonidas, right? Leonidas eventually dies. Nope, our
Yeah.
Leonidas is alive, but it's the Leonidas at his peak. The Leonidas when he was
Oh,
being the
oh.
most, yes, exactly,
Yeah.
being the most heroic that Leonidas could be. And then they were all brought together. So some of them are quite startled, right? Some of them are like, "Wait a minute, this is weird. Like, what's going on? I don't
Yeah, like
recognize this place."
Icarus is like on the flight to the sun and then gets yanked out before his
Yoink.
wax wings
Yeah,
burn, right? He's like,
Yeah,
where's the sun? Right?
Leonidas is in
yeah.
the Thermopylae pass going, well, we're screwed. Oh.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is much
Aha!
nicer.
I like this place.
That's
Yeah, I was gonna say Icarus would be like, thank you, Destiny."
that's interesting, right? So the shattering didn't just shatter like it shattered reality, not just space, but like space, time, and like a matter, right? It shattered
Yes,
everything. That's a
correct.
wow. So like it's even difficult that does I have another question that this does time even move in Riven? I'm sorry, like like
It
has
does.
time been
It does.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
Once
Okay.
everything was put back together, then consider from that moment on, time then started to progress again.
Okay.
But everything once everything was shattered, that was everything. Like everything, if you want to follow a timeline, everything from that point in the timeline all the way to the origin of that timeline, everything was shattered. And so Destiny's bringing everything back together with the strands of fate, weaving it back together, doing the best that she can to make sure that reality doesn't just go off into nothingness.
And she didn't want to
And
lose
yes,
that timeline either, right? So that's why she had to bring those guys in because she didn't want them to
yep.
be lost
Yeah,
either.
because she reached out across everything. She reached out across all realities, the entire multiverse, and wove it back together. And that means there's going to be some characters out of time. Like, hey, I shouldn't be here. Musashi shouldn't be next to Tokugawa or whatever. It's like they are appearing out of each other's times. Now though, they've had what at least 100 years to interact with each
Yeah.
other, to learn each other, to about each other, to know who they are. So now they've probably become accustomed to each other and have become, they've learned about each other's legend. Imagine how angry Beowulf was. Like, what do you mean Grendel's still alive? Oh, damn it.
uh,
I got to go hunt
well,
that guy down again.
imagine Grendel hearing, yeah, Beowulf killed you, by the way.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, no, no, no. And that, by the way, that is made clear in some of the descriptions of the characters. When you click on the character, it will talk about this individual was killed by this hero. After the shattering, they're back and they want revenge. Like they are aware that their life was ended by this other individual, and they see this as a second chance. They want payback. So yes, that is going to
oh,
be the case.
that's fun.
Nice.
Nice. So let's jump back into some of the community questions. So the second one that Sofalin had was, how was Hephaestus liking to Godforge's discovery? Can he handle it partially the same with other forging gods?
Uh, meaning, how does he react to the new world?
Um, I guess so, or maybe the actual
The
Godforge
Godforge.
itself.
Yeah.
Oh, the Godforge. Yes. So without revealing who it is, there is a forging god involved with the reconstruction of the ether well of the Godforge. So yes, there are gods, and probably there are forging gods that were involved in the process of forging those pieces into the Godforge.
Is it Wayland Smithy? Because that's what the thing used to be called. Is it Wayland?
Oh well, yes. So if it's called that, yes, it
Well,
is Wayland.
it was.
But it wasn't just Wayland, right? So
Okay.
this was an item of such power and just such overwhelming. No one god could have done it, right? It's almost like it took a whole bunch of them to sort of bring these pieces and forge it into the thing that it turned out being. So it could
I
have
was
been
gonna
a variety. Could have been Svarog, could have been Wayland, could have been Faceless. It could have been a whole bunch of them. All had to rally around this cause and make sure that the Godforge was created.
I guess it was gonna be Peter Dinklage because he helped Thor recraft
Yeah.
it.
Yes, he is. Oh, who is he? Not Undavari. He's actually a famous one of the
Dwarven Smiths. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember all
Undavari. No,
those.
not Undavari. I don't remember either. But anyway, yes, sure. Dinklage was in there. Why not?
Peter Dinklage created the Godforge.
Hi-ho,
Confirmed.
hi-ho.
Yeah.
Forth
Yeah.
we go. Crafting the Godforge.
Maybe Dinklage will consider doing some VO work for us. I'm all for it.
Same. Great actor. Love that guy. Okay. So,
Yeah.
right. So we'll move on to the second one from the theory. This one's a little bit complex, but he said, from my best understanding from what you've said previously, is that each of us is a soul scion in our own version of the multiverse. But that there could be places like the spider bar where the various scions meet.
Yes.
Assuming that is correct, how does that interact with the Pantheon and the Pantheon system? Is our Pantheon the spider bar? And then he leads on to say, it seems like there's a lot of interaction points between these multiple universes. Are there also cases where the real Zeus or Odin from one universe will cross over into the other? Is this full-on multiverse from the storytelling perspective where a world boss is explicitly multiversal in nature?
Yes. So that is actually another good thing to explain. Is now that we know that there are 9 worlds that are realms that are all fused into the same space. That is the reality of a single scion. But the sanctum exists in what we call the nexus of realities, where all realities meet in the multiverse. And in that nexus, absolutely, just like Spider HQ, a whole bunch of scions can walk in, look at each other. Hey, scion number 3, how's it going? Oh, it's scion number 457. It's going well, or whatever. And they can interact. Each of them has their own version, their own reality of Riven, totally separate from each other. But stories are similar, obviously. So the same events are happening on their Riven as are happening on the other one. But yeah, in the same way that each Spider-Man looks a little bit different and is a little bit different, same thing with the Scions. The Scions may have a different shape, may look a little bit different, may have different attitudes, different ideals, different goals that they're pursuing. So we wanted to give as much as to the player as much latitude as we could. Like, hey, you're a Scion. You've got your reality that you're in charge of, but there's also a place that you can go and speak to other Scions and talk about their reality. And that is exactly where Pantheons come in. You go in and you can say, hey, Scion number 5, 6, and 12, join my Pantheon. And let's all pool our resources and go do whatever it is that the game mode is. Whether it's together trying to defeat a boss or PvP fighting each other with their selected champions, whatever it is. There is a space like the Spider Hub. I think it's called Spider HQ in the movies, where all the Scions can interact, and that is in the nexus of realities, which is kind of where Sanctum is. So you can imagine each Scion having their Sanctum. Each of those sanctums have access to each other through the nexus of realities.
There we go. Makes sense. He did have one more, which I'll ask now before we just get to the last couple. To what degree is meant to be an author-designed story versus interactive story? Do we get to make meaningful choices? And if so, how are we thinking about that interacting with future story? Specifically, I assume it can't be based too much on an individual player choice, because if he chose differently to me, the overall story of the game has to pick a certain direction, kind of like Baldur's Gate, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, and that, by the way, I saw that question and I thought that was a fantastic question. Now, here's where the answer I think will be. Uh, I hope that the players will find the answer to be interesting and exciting and happy. Obviously, when you're trying to come up with the conclusion of chapter 1 and 2, that can really only end in one of a few ways. Either the Scion succeeds at what they're trying to do, or they fail at what they're trying to do. However, the reactions from the community, the reactions from the players, how the players are giving, either posting on various websites or saying, "Man, it'd be great if this happened or if that happened," or "Man, what if this other thing would appear?" Whatever it is, our Fateless is making sure that we are a community facing company. And so, unlike a lot of other bigger companies, when a whole bunch of fans say, "Man, we really love if X would happen," well, then that X becomes something that the entire team says, "Hey, why don't we make this happen?" Right? So, will they be able to affect the story? Yes, through their interactions with us, with the community, through various official websites, or through Discords, or through commenting on YouTube. Whatever it is, we are listening. And if players really prefer a certain kind of story, or they want a darker turn, or everyone's just dying to have whatever this IP brought in, like, "Man, we'd really love to see whatever Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser in Godforge." That does very much. We are listening, and the devs all listen to that, and we discuss it internally, and we say, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" So they can affect the story. We don't have all of the next chapters all written, right? That's not all done. We have chapter 1 and 2 written, and those are being developed and finished. But we don't have chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those aren't written yet. So can players affect that? Absolutely, 100% they can. Make your voices heard. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you're liking. Tell us what you're not liking, and we'll take that into account. Oh, sorry, my dog's barking. Hey. So yes, you can affect the future of the Godforge universe with your incredibly valuable input, but you have to give us your input, right? Don't just wish something would happen. Tell us about it. Tell us what it is that you like, what it is you'd like to see more of, and we are listening.
I can see Adam
think there
giggling.
should
Is
be
it Destiny's Child?
No, I was gonna say I think there should be an arc, a romantic arc with Isolde and the Scion. For no
Oh my
particular
God.
reason.
Well, this is when we talked about the Hercules fan club, right? I was just like, "Yo, is Adam gonna have a harem of Isoldes, right? Just like,
I'm just gonna collect them.
yeah, yeah."
Oh, dear.
What Scions choose to do in the privacy of their own sanctum is completely up to the Scions.
Adam's gonna have like posters like pin up Isolde's like
Oh
What
my
happens in the
God.
Nexus
It would
stays in the Nexus.
it'd be
That's
great if you
what
if you
happens in the
pine over
Nexus.
it'd be great if you pined over Isolde and she just wanted nothing to do with you. So you have all these pinups, and then all 100 of your avatars just like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, just turn me to an imprint already, all right? Like, get me out of
That would be so cruel.
here.
That'd be so cruel.
that'd be
Uh,
mean. Uh,
but yeah, but by the way, we haven't fully explored that either, right? We've talked about it, but what is the reaction of avatars to the Scion, right? Depending, I guess, on how the Scion treats them. The Scion treats them fairly. If he treats them more like loyal vassals that they are very fond of, or even family, right? They're going to react a certain way. If the Scion mistreats them, if he thinks nothing of them, he doesn't care about them, he doesn't listen to anything that they have to say, well, then they may not be all that friendly towards the Scion. But yeah, that I myself find that an interesting thing to explore. What do avatars think of their Scion? Is it a creature Frankenstein relationship, or is it different? Right? Is it something like, no, I like my Scion. My Scion rocks.
I'm
He's so
imagining it.
handsome and his beard is so lovely.
Yeah, I'm imagining it like for any of you guys who've played Madden or FIFA, when you go into like manager mode and you haven't used a god for a time, and then their like motivation drops and their stats get slightly worse. Whereas if you use them a lot, they're like really happy. They get a boost.
Yeah, no, it'd be funny, right? If every time, if you could actually, and I'm not saying this is in the game, but if you could like, have a certain reaction to one of your avatars, and then the little thing pops up that says your avatar will remember this. It's like, uh-oh. But yeah, I think this is the other thing that excites me so much about the IP and the project is um, the storytelling opportunities are so varied, and there's so many of them, and they're all over the place, right? You can tell stories about the scions, you can tell stories about the OG gods, you can tell stories about the avatars, you can tell stories about the interactions between all of them, you can tell stories about just the inhabitants of each of the realms. There's just so much that you can do with an IP like that. Yeah, I find it incredibly just rich soil for people to just dive in. I can't wait to start reading like all the stories that people are going to start writing about their experience as a scion and how they reacted to this fight or what they think about this person or what let's see it. Fan fiction, man, let's see it. Except not yours, Adam. I don't want to read your fan fiction with a soul. But
50
no,
Shades of Scion by Adam.
that's right. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be so fun to have players because this is what it's about, right? Sparking your imagination, get those creative juices flowing. Start writing your own stuff. Start thinking of your own scenarios. And like I said, comment on it. Let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know what you like and don't like, because unlike a big company that just they don't really have time to listen to what the audience is saying, to what the community is saying, we want to always be the company that does listen to what our community is saying.
So the last sort of 5 or 6 are all by far the time, but we're coming close to time. So I'll pick maybe a couple, and then we'll leave the floor open and call it a day. So one that he had, which I thought was really interesting, is for Aaron. What, if any, limitations were imposed on you by the creation team in the story?
That's a great question. Um, well, like I said, when I came onto the team, the game had already been in development for a year and a half, at least a year and a half, maybe more. So the core idea was there. All these mythologies are all now interacting in a shared space, and you will be able to choose from among the greatest heroes and gods and creatures from myth, which are just a great concept. That's a great IP pitch there. Um, so basically, what we were told is we have as a small company, we have limited time and resources, um, but we want to be able to give our players the best experience possible. And so, like normally, I mean, again, normally a small company like this wouldn't have reached out to somebody that had done as much sort of role playing style games, MMO, open world, really deep dive into lore kind of games. I'm sort of an unusual pick in that respect, but I knew what they were trying to do. Sham was like, we'd love to bring that depth of narrative to a gotcha game, to a hero collector. And so that became sort of the mandate, right? How do we do it? How do we do the best cutscenes on the money that we have? How do we deliver lore in the best way that we can? That doesn't interfere with gameplay, right? Nobody wants their wonderful Godforge experience, as I think Adam pointed out, by interrupted by some screen popping up and giving you "Yay, verily!" in the elder days. Nobody wants that. They want to select their heroes and build cool gear for them and do imprints and do all the cool stuff that you do in a hero collector. But for those who do like the narrative and do want the narrative, we want to make sure that that is there as well. So that was really the big challenges. Here's our IP, here's what we've got so far, here's what we're shooting for. Go. Understanding again limits on time, resources, manpower, that kind of thing. And so we just try to do the best. We've tried to do the best that we can with those limitations, and I think we've done a great job. When people see the cutscenes, I think they're going to be really pleased. They're going to say, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Um, and so yeah, I would say lore wise, I'd say there's been a fairly significant change from some of the early concepts, but from the perspective of the game, the experience that it's promising, the hero gotcha collector, a game based on mythology. No, it's what it was, from the very beginning. And so we're just trying to find ways to make that experience even better than just a hero collector with almost no narrative, right? We want to push and push and push on the on that envelope, and bring narrative to something that maybe a lot of players have wanted. We don't know, right? It's an experiment. A lot of players may want more narrative, in which case then we are there to provide it. We hope it's not the case where we provide the narrative and 95% of the players say, we don't care. That would be devastating to my little storytelling heart. But I don't think so. I think we've received so much feedback on, hey, I was never interested in narrative before, in these gotcha games, but now I am. I want to learn more what's going on. So I find that very encouraging. Yeah, see, Adam?
Nice. So by the sounds of it, outside of time and resources in the physical world, there were no limitations. It was sort of go have fun,
Right. Well, there's a limitation to the genre, right? Like
Of
there's certain
course.
things that a role-playing game would do that obviously a gotcha game is not going to do. But again, we are really trying to push the boundary on just how much narrative can we put into a gotcha game before it becomes obnoxious and intrusive and everyone just mutes that or turns it off. So it's finding that balance.
Nice. And then we'll have one more from Father Time, very quick one. Are there any plans to reveal or rewatch sort of nuggets of information in regards to the lore? Like, could you rewatch the cutscenes? Just
Yes,
anyway.
yes. No, we definitely want Mike Berry, our cinematic director, is already trying to make sure that we can get all that stuff put into. You can watch it on a video player. You can replay it as many times as you want. You can see them all in order, including like the cutscene, not only the cutscenes, but like pop-up VO that comes up and sort of fills in some of those gaps. So we do want to give the player the ability, if they've been playing, they've kind of watched the cutscenes, but not really because they want to get back to the game. But now they want to go, I want to see what I missed. They can click on a button and it will play everything that they've done up to that point, or the whole thing if they finished it. Like it tells you the
Or if
whole
they
story.
accidentally skipped it, like, oh no!
Right. Oh, that happens. That happens.
I did that during the alpha. I was so devastated during alpha 2. I was like, or alpha 3 or whatever. I was like, oh no, the cutscene.
It is important, certainly for content creators too, right? We want you guys to be able to go through the videos, freeze it on certain frames, point something out. Look at that. Did you notice that? Is that a crow or a raven? So we definitely want you guys to be able to go through the videos and analyze them, make content, share it with different people. So yeah. We want to make that accessible, and I think also, not only if in game, if you click on a character, it will give you information. It's not a lot, it's not paragraphs, it's a brief description of who that character is. But at some point there will be somewhere in the game where you can just go to like a library and then you just can click on the characters and then it'll tell you, here's the story on Isolde, here's the story on Anubis, here's the story on Horus, and it just tells you about that individual.
Nice. Well, I think we've gone through an awful lot today, and we're coming up to the hour mark on the recording. So there's one last thing that I'm going to just throw in at the end here. So, Aaron, is there anything that we've not discussed that you are allowed to reveal or share with us today before we go?
Okay, I'm not allowed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. They have forbidden me, but I'm going to now reveal the devious mind behind the insidious plot facing Riven. I'm going to reveal it right here. I'm going to tell you who is the architect of all of this woe that the Scion has to deal with. Oh, I hope I don't get fired for this. Are you all ready? It's me.
I knew you were gonna do that.
I thought
When
his
you said
camera was gonna cut
architect-
out and go black.
The moment you said architect, I knew you were gonna say yourself.
It's me. I'm sorry. It is me. I take full responsibility. No, and by the way, I do want at this point to just a big shout out to some of the most amazing collaborators and creative collaborators. Mike Berry, our cinematic director, who is just my partner in crime. We could not have done any of the things that we've done without Mike Berry's talent, his artistic instincts, his ability. his beard. It's amazing. Now, Mike, me and Mike are really we are comrades in arms. There's not a conversation that happens about the lore without both of us being very deeply involved. But also, big shout out. I'm a huge fan of Paul Almond, our lead designer. And again, Paul, Mike, and I were the ones that did beat it out the story beats for the first and second chapter early on, way back months and months and months ago. Until we were all really happy with that. They were, again, amazing collaborators, fantastic contributors, very artistic and creative people in their own fields. But again, none of this happens. Anyone who works in games will tell you nothing is a one-man job. Everything is an amazing collaboration. The music by Ivan Titkoff and by Norbert. I don't forget his last name. My apologies, but they've done the sound for all of the cutscenes, the music, which adds so much. Oh my gosh, when you listen to the music and then you see the cutscene, and
Very
then all of the
immersive.
wonderful sound effects that people have done. Norbert goes in there and he takes the actor from sounding like, okay, well, you're Ryujin now. Speak some like, in this land, these things have happened, right? That's what the guy sounds like. And then Norbert does his magic, and in this land, these things have happened. And it's like, yeah, that's what Ryujin should sound like. So again, astounding collaborations. The input from Sham, the input from Simon, the input from Dan. Our art people. It's just there's just I feel like at the end of an award show, like, okay, I'm running out of time. I can't thank everybody, but it really is such a wonderful collaboration from so many talented people. And I think that's what I love more than anything about Fateless and about this project is that it feels like when I first started working in the game industry and everybody was, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and had so much energy and they couldn't wait to start doing some amazing things. I think because of the troubles facing our industry, people have become very disillusioned. They've become jaded, with good reason, right? We're talking thousands and thousands of jobs have been cut. Studios have been closed. Projects have been canceled. And so to see that there are still places like Fateless that have these wonderful, hungry, creative, enthusiastic individuals is a real blessing, and I'm very very glad that I found Fateless or Fateless found me, however it works.
I think we all are.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there you go.
Thank you.
Sage, anything you want to say on the way out?
Oh yeah, I do, right? So I was kind of thinking of something, right? And so we know Etherwell, right? We know the Etherwell is the source of creation, right? We heard that from the cutscene. The Etherwell breaks, right? And so you said that ether was thrown everywhere, right? So how I picture this working is if you want to create something, do you need to go gather ether, bring it to the Godforge, and that's how you make things? And that's what the ether stones that we summon with, right? So is that the new process of creation now?
Well, the ether stones, when everything, imagine a big bang kind of a thing, right? Everything is being destroyed. Ether's going everywhere. When it's brought back together and solidified into reality again, chunks of sort of pure, unadulterated ether form, and those are the ether stones. So what you
Okay.
do is you collect those ether stones, which is like literally the raw creation in your hand, and then you offer that to the ether well. The ether well brings the ether back into itself, and then again, the reward is it allows you to fashion an avatar.
Yeah.
And yeah, but basically the ether stones are you going and collecting. Imagine if that ether just got solidified throughout the multiverse into all stones of various configuration, and you're going around collecting those stones and bringing it back to the ether well and saying, "Here you go," and the ether well says, "Yummy, thanks. Here's your reward. It's sold." So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think that sums up like the last big question I had, right? Of course, I have 1,000 small ones, but we don't have forever. But yeah.
Make sure it's not too big.
No. I'm good. I'm good now. That's
Okay, fine. And then Adam, lastly, over to you. The floor is yours. Any final thoughts?
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
And that seems like the perfect way to end this. So thank you very much to the three of you for joining. I will, of course, link their channels down below. Don't forget to check out the Fateless podcasts. Aaron, you might see him on there soon. Join the Discord. Subscribe to the YouTube channel once they get to 100k. We've been told there's going to be a surprise, and I personally want to see it myself. So go do that. And yeah, take
And by the
care.
way, give us your feedback. Give
Yes,
us your feedback.
feedback.
We do listen to you, and
Feed-
it does change what we do.
Yeah, do that as well. So yeah, take care, look after yourselves, work hard, but as always, play harder. And we will all see you in another one soon. Cheers.
Take care.